Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Michaela Mayer says, I have no problem going to Ireland to fight Katie Taylor. I wouldn't make the negotiations difficult. I believe her. Taylor closed out a trilogy with Amanda Serrano 2 weeks ago in New York. It might have lacked the volume and the drama of their initial meetings, but for any potential opponents, it could come with much reward. It was a rare fight for Taylor that was relatively easy on the body, and it could convince her that she does have another fight or two left in her. At 39, Taylor might well decide enough is enough and simply walk away and enjoy the rest of her life without boxing. But the nature of her third straight win over Serrano gives hope that she will fight again. Crucially for Mayer, with Taylor, theoretically, now only 7 pounds away she is, at the very least, in the conversation. Chantel Cameron is an obvious choice of opponent. 2 fights and 1 win apiece. It does look like unfinished business. Cameron is now aligned with Jake Paul's MVP that promoted the last 2 Taylor versus Serrano fights. And MVP will undoubtedly do all they can to land that third fight between Taylor and Cameron. You suspect even Mayer wouldn't begrudge Cameron her chance at redemption, but Taylor seems somewhat reluctant to entertain another showdown with the only fighter that has ever beaten her as a professional. But if Paul offers enough money and maybe one last dance in Ireland, it might be enough to tempt Katie Taylor. Time will tell. She's very close to walking away. Though you get the sense that Katie will never be fully done with boxing. Even after her own boxing career ends, I could see her taking an active role in the amateur scene to help develop the next generation of women fighters, maybe managing fighters. Momentarily, if Taylor and her inner circle want a future fight, Michaela Mayer could finally be in the right place and at the right time. The reigning WBO welterweight champion of the world has already reignited her desire to share a ring with Taylor. Mayer has suggested either a fight at super lightweight, where Taylor currently holds that precious undisputed status, or a fight at 147, giving Taylor the opportunity to win a world title in a third weight class. It could even be made at 140, allowing Taylor to defend her baubles, and maybe Mayer putting her WBO welterweight title on the line also. However, it could potentially play out. A fight between Taylor and Mayer offers much intrigue. The fight itself, if the fight happens, though I honestly can't think of a more generic headline or a more generic story than another girl at or around these weights that wants Katie Taylor. Of course. I have no problem going to Ireland to fight Katie Taylor. I wouldn't make the negotiations difficult, Mayer told Fight Post. I've crossed borders before, but I also realize that at this stage in Katie's career, she can pick her fights and call all the shots. But I always thought that I would fight Katie at some point, Mayer added. Maybe I stayed at 130 for too long and I missed my chance of fighting her at 135. It would be disappointing to end my career without making that fight happen, but with the position women's boxing is in now, I still have plenty of great competition. If Katie decides to continue to fight on, she's gonna need some credible opposition after the run she's had. Going backwards and fighting somebody with little or no name wouldn't do her much service. She has a handful of names to pick from, and I get that, but I think the fans have hoped for a Taylor versus Mayer fight as well, and I know it would get people excited. I think it would. It's one of the better fights to make anywhere at or around these weights, and in a very general sense, in the entire sport. Taylor versus Mayer, but I feel like too much of a burden is being put on Katie to face everyone. Her last 4 fights, 2 back-to-back fights with Chantel Cameron, then 2 back-to-back fights with Amanda Serrano to complete the trilogy, to where if she decided to take on an easy one next, I can't fault her for that. You talk about another Katie Taylor homecoming fight in Ireland, and it's gonna draw irrespective of who she's fighting. It's not contingent upon a Mayer fight or a Cameron trilogy.
It's gonna do well.
And I also understand Michaela's desire. You can hardly fault her for targeting the big fish. She's one of the big fish herself. Looks goddamn awesome as a welterweight. The fight I could go for Michaela is Mayer versus Cameron.
Oh, wait a minute. What about Mayer versus Price?
Lauren Price, the only other champion at the weight right now. Her promoter's going through the same thing that Michaela's promoter's going through. They're between broadcasters right now. And until we know the future of Boxer and the future of Top Rank, we don't know when we can expect Lauren and Michaela to fight. That's why I brought up the Cameron fight, because with Chantel, we at least know she's with MVP. MVP does shows on both DAZN and Netflix, so it's a more stable environment to make a fight.
Could be for a lot of money. We know that MVP is paying these girls well, better than anybody else.
So Michaela theoretically could do that in the mean in between time, and you say that, well, Chantel Cameron is a risky fight for Michaela, but Michaela is a risky fight for Katie Taylor.
You say that Katie Taylor, if she's going to keep fighting, she's going to need credible opponents. That applies to Michaela also.
Don't put a burden on Katie that you don't also put on Michaela, because Katie's the more accomplished fighter of the two with less to prove. If things aren't stable enough for a Lauren Price fight, and Katie Taylor doesn't give her the time of day, Mayer versus Cameron is a fight that can happen. And I think the fans would be excited about that fight as well.
In men's lightweight and super lightweight news, reigning WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson took to his social media and said, "I seen you say that you want to fight me, Teofimo. What's stopping it from happening next? And this ain't no bluff. Let's make boxing great again, little Teo." To which Teofimo responded, "I'm going to repeat this. Like I said to Arnold Barboza, Shakur, be careful what you ask for." Shakur asks, what's stopping them from fighting? Quite a few things, if I do say so myself. The tumultuous nature of Teofimo Lopez's boxing career, business practices. He just burnt the bridge with Turkey El Sheikh, who wanted him to fight Devin Haney. Stylistically, the Haney fight is the same as the Stevenson fight. If anything, it's worse because I think Shakur Stevenson is better with that style than Devin Haney. More fluid. They're both pure boxers, Devin Haney and Shakur, but I've always felt Shakur's better with that style.
So why did the Devin Haney fight fall apart? Why did Teofimo walk away?
Money.
I heard him say that he wanted more money, that he was supposed to make an estimated $8 million or $11 million or whatever it was, but that's supposed to be the reason. Personally, I don't think Teofimo has ever fancied that fight. They've been circling each other for years, campaigning at the same weights, Devin and Teofimo.
Shakur and Teofimo now becomes a conversation.
Shakur is pursuing that fight because it's got more of a profile than, say, a unification match with Raymond Muratalla.
More of a profile than a unification match with the winner of Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes. He hasn't been having any luck unifying with Gervonta Davis.
So he's willing to move up for Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo satisfied his mandatory challenger in Arnold Barboza in his last fight earlier this year. So he's not under threat of any mandates for the time being. He's free.
But who's supposed to pay for this? The money that Shakur is gonna want. The money that Teofimo is gonna want. There's only one guy who's willing to pay out that much, and that's Turkey.
Turkey, who just said he doesn't want to work with Teofimo moving forward because he insulted both his country and his religion.
Ouch.
In business, there's always a chance that harsh feelings can be set aside in the name of business. But when you insult the man's country, and bear in mind that what Turkey is doing is for his country, it's financed by Saudi Arabia.
That Teofimo has insulted, at least according to Turkey.
I don't know. I don't want to rule out the possibility that Turkey might decide to mend fences with Teofimo, but at the same time insulting the man's country and his religion, that's a little bit more than just being a pain in the ass, like Teofimo usually is.
And then, of course, we're going to present a new deal to Shakur and hopefully we can sign him. I mean, Shakur, personally, and myself, have, never had a cross word. I like him as a fighter. I like him as a person.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really nice young man. So hopefully we can work again together.
Now, why would Shakur Stevenson go back to Top Rank, who he didn't have a very high opinion of while he was there? It's said that currently he's a free agent. His existing deal with Matchroom has ended, and he's free to go wherever he wants to go. Now, he can keep boxing on Riyadh Season and Ring Magazine cards, or he can re-sign to Matchroom. Jaron Ennis just did. He extended his deal with Matchroom. We talked about that in my previous video. So why would he go back to Top Rank? Well, Top Rank does have Raymond Murtazaliev. They do have Abdullah Mason, who I think is going to win the Sam Noakes fight to become WBO champion.
In spite of this, I don't think Shakur is likely to go back there.
No.
Because while they might have 1 or 2 fights they could make for him, they are between broadcasters right now. We don't know what the future of Top Rank is, even if I'm confident that they'll land on their feet because of all their years of experience and the stuff that Bob's been saying.
Top Rank, of course, will be back in a different form, I'm sure. Anything at all you can share? Do you plan to work with a streaming service? Any thoughts on your mind of what's next for Top Rank?
Well, that's just it. We're going to work with a big streaming service. We're currently negotiating a deal, and also an over-the-air network. We're going to have more than now. We just have one. ESPN, which we can only put our events on ESPN, but I think going forward we'll have 2 or 3 outlets, and that'll make it, I think, going forward much more palatable to the public, to the fighters, and to us.
Bob's tune hasn't changed, that they're going to have more than one broadcaster moving forward. They may even have more fight dates as a result. I believe him.
However, until we have those answers, I don't expect Shakur Stevenson to re-sign to them. In a very general sense, I don't expect him to re-sign to them.
Poor reception that the Nicotila fight got, and the Edwin De Los Santos fight got, and people actually getting up and leaving before the fight was over. Shakur tried to blame Top Rank for that.
That people thought those fights were boring, that people were getting up and leaving. What reflects badly on a top-ranked fighter also reflects badly on Top Rank.
They don't profit from Shakur Stevenson's failures, his inability to entertain in those 2 fights. They don't want him to fail.
But he tried to make it their fault. I think I even saw him say that Top Rank doesn't know how to promote black fighters.
The merit of what Shakur Stevenson said is debatable, but it's for that reason that I don't expect him to go back there. I don't see him re-signing to Top Rank.
And the Teofimo Lopez fight?
Anything involving Teofimo Lopez, any fight, whether it's a Haney fight or a Stevenson fight, it's in the air. We don't know what the hell's gonna happen with that kid. I don't even know if he's gonna box again this year.
Do you think he'll go back to Top Rank?
Well, he said 1 or 2 things about Top Rank that were not so nice, just like Shakur Stevenson, but I feel like he's got less options since he burnt that bridge with Turkey.
Maybe he'll go back.
I don't know. Men's junior middleweight news. World's most avoided, Bakram Murtazaliev is raring to return. Bakram Murtazaliev hopes to fight Erickson Lubin as early as September. The IBF junior middleweight champion and his team have been formally ordered by the sanctioning body, the IBF, to agree to terms with his mandatory challenger by August 4th, or risk entering a purse bid, potentially and finally bringing to an end what is approaching a frustrating year of inactivity. Murtazaliev, 32, clinically stopped Tim Tszyu in 3 rounds in October of last year to establish himself among the world's finest at 154, and yet having since watched Tszyu fight twice, he is yet to make another defense of his belt. His promoter Main Events had been negotiating a voluntary title defense against England's Josh Kelly. Murtazaliev's promoter Igis Klimas told Boxing Scene that those negotiations had stalled while they sought a broadcaster, but the IBF has since intervened, leaving Lubin, 29, on course to instead be his latest challenger before the conclusion of this year. Murtazaliev stressed that he had remained interested in fighting Kelly, but he told Boxing Scene via his trainer and translator, Roma Kalantarian, they asked us if we were ready to fight, and we said yes. The sooner we fight, then the sooner we fight the next fight, I guess. September, October, anytime it's a good fight is a good time. Let's just make it happen. We're ready to fight anytime they give us a date. As long as I'm not doing Ramadan, it doesn't matter who. We're very happy to fight. We never care about who we fight. We're very happy to fight. We only want to fight the top guys, and I guess Lubin is the top guy right now. Tim's fought a second time, and we still haven't fought once. No one wants to fight us. I've got big respect for Tim's promoters, No Limit, that they can pull those fights off. Lubin was calling us out. He's number one mandatory. That's why we're happy to get this opportunity. That's it. We think he really wants not to fight us, but he really wants to go for the title. It doesn't matter who's got the title. That's what our opinion is. If he doesn't fight now for the title, then when? He's a very, very good fighter. He's very skillful. He's done very good fights with many, many good fighters. But we don't know how good he is with me until we go in the ring, because so was everybody else. They fought the best, including Tim, and all those others. And then as soon as we're in the ring, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. It changed. So he might be really good, and he is really, really good, but we'll see how good he is with us.
This fight's got some problems. I don't know when we can expect to see it. We know that the IBF have set their deadlines, when they want them to agree to terms and when they want the fight to happen, but we don't actually know when the fight is going to happen because, for starters, Bakram's not with a major promotional outfit. If he were, then we would have seen him come back by now. He's with Main Events. That's Kathy Duva, that's Igis Klimas, and neither of them have a broadcast deal with anybody to just do their own shows, their own Main Events cards. Erickson Lubin, where normally he boxes on PBC shows, his last fight was on YouTube.
On ProBox, not PBC on Amazon.
So what I figure is that if these guys don't iron out a deal by August 4th, which is the deadline for them to iron out a deal, it may end up going to a purse bid, at which point Gary Jonas and the ProBox people might bid on the fight. They might be the only ones that bid on the fight.
It's not a hot ticket. It's a decent little fight for a hardcore, but has no casual appeal. And that's all on the premise that the PBC don't get it done by
Who
themselves.
says the PBC's even involved? Are they still invested in Erickson Lubin?
You're right. They might not be. They can't be that invested if his last fight ended up on ProBox instead of Amazon Prime. I don't know. We'll see. Whenever the fight happens, if the fight happens, I favor Bakram to win. I favor Bakram to stop Erickson Lubin, who's been stopped 2 times already by Jermel Charlo, by Sebastian Fundora. If Bakram connects on him like they did and like he did in the Tim Tszyu fight, I think Erickson Lubin goes out. I think he goes down.
I think given Lubin's track record in these situations, most people are going to go with Bakram to win.